Hello, everyone. For those of you joining us, you know that on Thursdays after we do coffee talk, I talk twice as fast, having been brewing these high-octane coffees. As you can tell, this is empty, which means that most of it is in my system. So I'll be talking rather fast here. We just had this amazing session. Please join us for Coffee Talk because not only did we get to speak with people we hadn't seen before, which is always a thrill, but we were also playing a piece of music, a woman called Doreen Ketchens. I'm going to play you one piece. It's just 1 minute, just to because it's just still so much in my mind, and it relates to what we're doing here. The inner sound, the anahata nad, because we're going to be doing an exercise, a spiritual practice called spiritual exercises. And that involves our focus, but also our commitment as well, our inner commitment. And watching this woman play, you'll see what total commitment looks like. So here's Doreen Ketchens. So that's only just a little smidge of what we played, where she can really opens up in other pieces as well. But what attracted me to watching her is not only just like I've never heard anything like it in my life, but mainly this idea that just putting her full being into something. And as I mentioned in the previous segment, this idea that you're just on the streets and people hardly paying attention to you. It doesn't matter. You're just absolutely, completely there, present, playing your heart out as if just there was nothing else in the moment mattered. And I think that that's the kind of attitude we need to bring to our inner world, that when we close our eyes, or at any time really, but particularly when we take time for a practice, that we close our eyes and we go inside. We're just fully committed to that presence that's within us. And that's why we're here. We're going to be practicing something called spiritual exercises. I'll give you the basics of it, which are very, very simple. Usually we close our eyes just to remove outer distractions, and we bring our attention to the center of our head. And if you attend these sessions on a regular basis, I usually cycle through various excerpts that give us clues as to where to place our attention and how to place our attention. But really pretty much just think of the center of your head. If you took your forehead and you went back and you took your over top of your ears, where those points meet is around where we're talking about, bringing the attention there. And the chanting of a mantra, which we generally chant Hu, spelled H-U, Hu, which is an ancient name for God, which contains all sound. And we can chant it H-U or Hu. Except we just take that sound back inside of us as a way of attuning. Now, the movement of spiritual awareness is about initiation to the sound current of God. So some people have their own initiatory tones or sounds or mantras that they chant, which is fine. Again, all of this is done inwardly and silently. But a good place to start is the Hu. That'll take you through all the levels of consciousness that you need. And then we stop and then we listen. We listen for the sound, the inner sound, and the sound that's emanating from the heart of God, or the heart of source, the source, or however, the all, that which is, it of itself, the divine. Goes on and on, whatever word you want to put on it, not to get hung up on the words, but just like the highest and purest. And so when we start, we ask for the highest and purest light from the highest and purest source to surround and fill each one of us and the space we're in for the highest good. And we ask that for an inner guide that is within each human being on the planet. And we just ask that it come forward. We ask for the consciousness of the mystical traveler consciousness. The mystical traveler consciousness that is within each one of us. We ask for that to come forward from within each of our hearts and guide us on our inner journey. It's easy to get lost in the streets of Los Angeles or New York City, let alone universes without end. And so having the mystical traveler consciousness, we'll know exactly where we are. We can travel in complete safety and security. And if you have a particular spiritual master that you particularly like and you'd like that presence, you can ask for that presence as well. The one that I always call forward is my own spiritual teacher, John Roger, who you'll see in a moment, and just ask that his presence and energy infuse everything we're doing here for the highest good. So with that in mind, we chant the hue or the initiatory tone. We listen. And we just allow ourselves to travel within on the inner sound, or we just keep going for that inner approach, bringing ourselves back. If our mind wanders, we can chant the hue again, but that commitment to that inner place within us, who we truly are. So let's hear from John Roger. I love this excerpt. It's 5 minutes long, and in it he covers a lot of ground, and I always get something new out of it. I think I may have played it a couple of weeks ago, but I just wanted to play it again for you because he says something here. He said, finding time to be with yourself should be a primal law like gravity. If you don't take that time, you can't get up and go. But of course, the world isn't set up that way for us. I mean, we have our choices, and a lot of times we don't choose to reconnect with ourselves as just a primal direction in our lives. So this is why we do this time together, so that you can use this time to reconnect. And John Roger will talk quite a bit about that here. So enjoy John Roger.
People say, I got to take time for myself, and they go running. I say, you took time for running. You didn't take time for yourself. They say, I got to take time for myself, and they go read a book. I said, you took time for the book. Don't go through anything. Go through blankness, quiet, peace. Go through your irritation, your angers, your fidgetiness. Go through all of that. Don't use somebody else to stop you from doing it. If you want salvation, you have to go for it. Now, taking time with yourself doesn't really have to have a lot of quantity on it. 15 minutes. Well, if you touch back to yourself, and that self is aware of you, and you're aware of it, and you become one, 3 seconds would be a long time. It's often been referred to by the ancients as the cosmic second. It's a second, but it actually feels like a cosmic thing. It's like space and time goes on for centuries. Therefore, that type of activity would be much more valuable than sitting doing spiritual exercises in an attempt to make some sort of contact that's going to be haphazard. And I used to say 15 minutes of spiritual exercises will do it. And people wouldn't do 15 minutes. So I said, make it a half hour, make it an hour, make it 2 hours. In 2 hours, we started getting people who were getting 5, 10, 15 minutes. When you've done it, there is a contact. When you're doing it, that means you're working towards being that. Someone asked me, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Oh my God, no, I wouldn't be so presumptuous to think that I am a Christian." And they said, "Well, why not?" I said, "Wow, do you know that's an extremely difficult, high level of consciousness to be?" I said, "Can you imagine not judging, loving your neighbors as yourself, loving God with your body, mind, and soul, taking care of yourself? Can you imagine doing all those things that a Christian is to do, that they be a Christian?" They said, "What are you?" I said, "I'm working at it. And it's a full-time job." The same thing would be when you've done the SEs, then it'd be like saying being a Christian. And if you're not, haven't done them in terms of made a complete contact, then you're working at your SEs. It's like I'm still sitting in my SEs. Maybe we should call them STs, soul transcendences. Because it's not a hard thing to do. If a person does spiritual exercises, and in that statement is contact with the soul and transcendence, that works off karma. If they do spiritual exercises and in that they don't make soul contact and don't work off and don't reach into it, become aware of it, they haven't worked off karma. The SEs has been a pain in the butt. It's getting calluses on your rear end. So when I use the word SEs, I'm talking about the fait accompli, where you have done that. You are doing all those things. It's like breathing in and breathing out. Otherwise, it's an attempt at breathing. It's an attempt at it. It's a process of attempting to do, to find out. And in that, it's just time consuming. I think the preparation of ourself in the heart is extremely valuable. Finding the time to be with yourself should be a primal law like gravity. If you don't take that time, you can't get up and go. It's like gravity is there, and we can ignore it, and it still has its effect. So doing spiritual exercise, if it were laid in as a primal command, that'd be fine. But that rules out then choices, and choices rules out randomness, and randomness rules out freedom of thought and action. And ruling out those, you have no chance for liberation. So you have to have all the defaults in there, everything set up to defeat you, to end up with spiritual liberation. It's not easy. I've never told anybody it is. I just said, this is the easiest, fastest way I know of to go into yourself and awaken to that. The nice thing about it is that's an awakening to the self in everybody. It actually becomes a great sense of self-esteem for all of you and your friends, because you see the spirit in them and you treat them with that reverence. It looks, in a sense, self-effacing, but it is not. It is knowing that what you have is in everyone and they're going to come into it. And it's just you're in it. And if you flaunt it, then you place the flaunting between you and the Lord. And then you start to have flaunting and you lose that spiritual contact. And you can recontact it though. Take time to go in and bypass all that and say, I forgive myself for this. Forget it, forgive it. Make the contact, bring out the energy again. Is that clear?
So we're making contact, and of course our mind comes in quite a bit, but we've kind of got to have an attitude like a red-tailed hawk staying focused on its prey in gusting winds. And you may say, well, what the hell are you talking about? That's the new metaphor. But let's look at a red-tailed hawk. So just... So that's the kind of focus that for us to have as much as we can. So again, we just ask for this holy light to fill and surround each one of us in the space that we're in for the highest good. And we can just begin by chanting the hue. You can do it out loud in your space and then take it inward. And then off you go on your travels with spiritual exercises. I'll start with some singing bowls. It's not necessary for practice, but given that I have them here and given that people like to hear them. But the idea here is not so much to listen to the bowls, but to use the overtones as a kind of a step ladder into yourself, into who you truly are, and use it as an attunement process. Please do not let anything distract you. This is time for you and to be in this energy of loving. That is the huge key here. Whatever you're doing, be loving. If you're chanting the hue, chant it lovingly. When you listen, listen lovingly. When you're traveling, travel on the vibration of love. Off you go, light for the highest good. You can just slowly begin to return to the room by gently wiggling your fingers and toes together. Just wiggling our fingers and toes kind of brings our energy back into our bodies in a very gentle way. And just to enhance that gentleness, you can just allow yourself to become aware of your breath and receive in just a little bit more air, just to animate your bodies so that you become slowly to become a little bit more present. There's absolutely no rush. Just see if you can maintain this inner calm. this inner presence, and most importantly, the kind of focus of this meditation today, this inner connection to Spirit, to God, to the Beloved, to the Christ, whatever name you wish to place on that ineffable presence that is loving and infinite and is really the true you. And as we reach the top of the hour, you can open your eyes if you wish. You don't have to, of course. But I know some of you who are taking time out from work, it is the top of the hour, so perhaps we'll see you for our Christmas Eve broadcast tomorrow with John Morton, or maybe on Monday for our meditations, or next Thursday. So we're just on a regular cycle here so that we are available to you for you to touch in, and it's just really lovely to be with you all, and thank you for that. What's so interesting about all of this is, right from the beginning to me, is the shared experience, right? We're dealing with a global pandemic that everybody can relate to. And in the past, so many things have been, oh, that's happening in England, that's happening in Europe, that's happening in London, that's happening in Ireland, that's happening in Africa. I mean, we've always been able to isolate and separate. And here we have this absolutely global phenomenon that we can all relate to, and we can all experience and empathize with each other. I don't think it's bringing us any closer together, but in some ways it is. I think that as a group, we've gotten closer together. I definitely feel that. There are definitely been some advantages of it all, and it's certainly shown up. It's turned our world upside down in terms of the way that we relate to work and health and all of that. So it is what it is, right? I mean, and how we deal with it is all our inner process with it all. And that's why we have spiritual teachings to really recenter ourselves and come back to who we truly are, which is not really here in many ways. That we're not really here. Our bodies are here, our mind, emotions, but there's a part of us that is beyond all of that, and that's the place we really need to go to. And when we can go there, we'll just find that it's peaceful and loving. I quote the Christ self. See if I can find the quote for you, because I begin each class with it, really. And it's this: the Christ consciousness is within you. This is John Roger. The Christ consciousness is within you, and is that which brings love to heal all wounds, removes all separation, brings peace and joy to the troubled mind and emotions, and holds you in divine love forever. So when we can move into that, and part of the Christ Self class, which I've been doing on Monday nights, is about, that's what I just described to you is not something far away. The Christ consciousness is within you. It's here right now within each one of us. And it's almost like we've got this door that we can walk through, each one of us. And it is that which brings love to heal all wounds, removes all separation, brings peace and joy to the troubled mind and emotions, and holds you in divine love forever. And that's a doorway we can all walk through. It's available to us at any time. It loves and adores us. It waits for us. It holds us. It is us. And I'm just really wishing you all just a very happy and healthy Christmas season. And be well. And I want to thank Stella, our host, and Chris and Jake, our technical team, who've done so beautifully. Marie Jose Marignon, our translator. And thank you all for joining us, and hope to see you this time next week or on Monday And feel free to join us for the Christmas Eve broadcast tomorrow that John Morton will be hosting with Lee Taylor Young. And it's going to be partly in person here well, not here at Prana West, but at Prana. And we'll see what joys that brings us all. So be well, everyone. God bless you all. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And we'll see you next week. God bless you all. Thank you.